This VR experience is designed to give you a conceptual understanding of Unity game engine. These game objects to see what components are present on them. Game objects are in all game objects will contain the transform component. The transform component keeps track of position, rotation, and scale of the game object. In the next part of this tutorial, you will explore the transform component in detail. Unity is all about game objects. Everything that you see here is a game object. You can add components to the game object to change their behavior. Why don't you pick up these game objects to see what components are present on them? Components add behavior to the game object. The particle system component gives the game object ability to emit particles. Pick up the two bins with your right and left hand and see the difference in components. Great! In Unity, you can add or remove components present on a game object to change the behavior. Let's remove the light component from the torch game object. Pick up the game object with your left hand. With your right hand, hover the ray over the light component and press the trigger button. Amazing! The mirror contains a camera component that renders the world on its surface. Your task is to remove the camera component from the mirror. Pick up the game object with your left hand and use the trigger button on your right hand to remove the camera component. By now you must have realized that adding and removing components changes the behavior of the game object. It is possible to add and remove almost all components that are present on the game objects. We shall explore the effects of adding and removing colliders and rigid body components in the latter part of this tutorial. We first focus on an important component that will always be present on any game object, the transform component. The transform component contains three attributes: position, rotation, and scale. Let's start with moving the cube that you see to a red indicator that you see in front of you.
Darling, you send me, you send me, you send me, darling, you send me, I know you send me, darling, you send me, I know you
this has launched now. We can see that we have a few tutorials over here. I'll just pick up the gun and yeah, basically just try to learn how you can shoot an object. And then we have basically set over here a few instructions. So let's say a player can basically view the instructions over here, and based on that follow the instructions. So by following the instructions you can actually see how the material is being changed over here, and then you can change the mesh also of the particular object over here. So we can basically change it to any of the other meshes, and you can see that it's the same object, it's not a different object. So inside the game, inside this particular object, we are just changing the mesh currently, and then we can just add a collider based on the tutorial present over here. And yeah, we can just pick up the gun and shoot on the object, and you can basically see how it deflects. If I disable it again, yeah, it passes through. So yeah, I can just enable that and read the instructions and enable the rigid body. So I'll be able, so it helps us understand how we can basically interact with the bodies, and the player can basically play around with the meshes and see how the behavior changes based on, because of the rigid body and colliders. And yep, so now as per the instruction, again I'll just disable the collider, and the cube is basically cube has basically fallen down. So that's the tutorial we have created. We would basically like to test if users are able to understand the tutorial easily.